Hi, I'm Luce. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming a video going through all of my God tier books. I have counted and I have 18 of them here. I am a little bit annoyed. I wanted to get to 20, but I didn't want to like put a book in there that I was just like, oh yeah, this is definitely a God tier just to get to 20. So 18 of them. I think the majority of them are series. So I've just kind of got the first book in the series, but it kind of represents the whole series. And then I have a couple of miscellaneous standalones. Also, I wanted to just mention, I did rearrange my bookshelves the other day, completely on a whim. And it's not going to like show as well as I want it to because of the kind of blurred background, but I have had to reorganize for the shelves behind me and I absolutely love them. I always have this thing when I reorganize my bookshelves where I'm like, oh, I don't like it. I liked it more how it was before. And then after like a day, I'm like, oh no, I'm obsessed. And I am now obsessed with my bookshelves. So yeah, these are my new reorganized shelves. If you are somebody who has watched any of my other videos, I'm sure a lot of these books you will have heard mentioned before. I do really like to ramble about the things that I love. So yeah, some of these are not going to be surprises if you are one of my friends watching this or you are somebody who has seen any of my other videos. But yeah, let's just get into all of the books. Okay, so I'm going to try and categorize these as best as I can. So I'm going to go through my kind of YA books first. And the first one that I have here is one that holds such a special place in my heart, and it is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This is a custom dust jacket that I got from Peaches Obviously, I think is their Instagram handle. But this book, as I said, it has such a special place in my heart. So I read this book originally when I was, I think, 17, and this was at a time in my life where I was not reading. I was really depressed and I literally hadn't read anything in probably like 4 years. And I picked this up entirely on a whim because I was told that it was like Harry Potter but gay. And this was in the period of time where I still liked Harry Potter because J.K. Rowling hadn't exposed herself to being a word that I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. But yeah, that comparison sold me immediately, and I love this book. I mean, you can tell I have tabbed the ever-loving shit out of this book. But yeah, the best way I can describe it is kind of, unfortunately, with Harry Potter but gay. It is following two main characters, Simon and Baz, who are at this magical school. They're in their last year and they are roommates, but they hate each other. And Simon is the chosen one. He is the guy that is supposed to save the world from the big bad evil. And they end up in a relationship, and I love it. I also love the rest of the series because while this book can stand on its own, because originally it was published as a standalone, it has since turned into a trilogy. And one of the things that I love about the trilogy is that it explores the idea of what happens to the chosen one after they've done their task. Like, after they have defeated the evil, what happens to them? How do they cope with that? And I really, really liked that exploration. I've just realized I read this almost 10 years ago now. That's really upsetting. But yeah, I love this series and I am planning on rereading this book really soon. Okay, and then we have a slightly more recent, well, I say slightly more recent, I read this 5 years ago, but slightly more recent than Carry On YA favourite, and that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I binged this entire trilogy during lockdown in 2020, and it completely took over my life and my brain. And I truly don't think that another series is going to make me feel the same way that this series does. This series, in my opinion, is no plot, all vibes. The plot in this series is so, in my opinion, not important. This is a series all about the characters and their relationships, but also with this magical twist in it. The plot in this is that it's a group of teenagers who are trying to find the remains of this long dead Welsh king. And we have 4 boys from this super elite fancy private school. And then we have our main girlie Blue, who is from a family of psychics, but she herself does not have psychic abilities. And she ends up getting caught up with these boys and their search for the Welsh king. And yeah, like I said, that it is important in the sense of like, that is the driving force of the books. But really this book is about the characters, and these characters mean everything to me. I love them so much. This is like such a popular series that I'm sure everyone has either read it or heard about it, but if you haven't read it, get on this shit. It is so good and so worth a read. Okay, then we have an actually more recent one that I only read in the last like couple years, and that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I have read and really enjoyed the Caraval trilogy by her as well, and this is kind of a spin-off of that, but this one is just so amazing. It is the perfect mix of just whimsical vibes and also an interesting plot, in my opinion. Okay, so this follows our main girlie Evangeline, who ends up making a deal with the Prince of Hearts, and we do meet the Prince of Hearts in Caraval, and I loved him in that, so I was really excited that I got to have him as a main character in this one. But yeah, she ends up making this deal with him, and she has to give him 3 kisses at a time of his choosing. And it just goes from there. This book, like I said, it is so whimsical, and this is the kind of book where every single scene I could picture so vividly in my head. The way that Stephanie Garber wrote it, I felt like I was watching a movie. And I know that some people didn't love the 3rd book in this series. I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Like, I had a great time. Yeah, I think if you're wanting something that is like quick and fun, but also beautiful and kind of heartbreaking at points as well, then this is a series that you need to be reading. Okay, and then my last YA is one that I could never make a god tier book list and not include these books. And these are like OGs. I read one of these books that I'm going to talk about when I was 12 years old. And I am still obsessed with these books, and I will still talk about them probably until I'm 80 years old. But it is the Shadowhunter series by Cassandra Clare. I've talked about these books quite a few times in videos as well. While I love every single book that has been published in the Shadowhunter universe, the Mortal Instruments and the Dark Artifices will, I think, always be my favourite. Now, the Mortal Instruments, I acknowledge this one is her worst series. I'm fully aware of that, but the nostalgia I have for this is so strong. Like I said, I read this when I was 12 years old. I binged these books in like a day each. I had to painstakingly wait for books 5 and 6. And I know this series isn't great. I've reread it as a full-grown adult, and I can acknowledge that there's some weird bits in it. The writing's a bit weird. There's definitely some interesting plot lines. But I don't care. I don't care. I will forever love this book, this edition. I pulled out 2 of my prettiest editions of this book. I do have an insane Shadowhunters collection, which low-key I have thought about making a video on all my Shadowhunter books. So like, if anyone's interested in that, please let me know, because I can definitely film that. But yeah, super pretty editions. But the Dark Artifices, in my opinion, and I know people will disagree with me about this, in my opinion, this is her best series. I think this is her best series. I think the growth in her writing from the Mortal Instruments to this series is insane. The way that she's built characters I have found to be always really compelling, but the characters specifically in this series, in my mind, they're real people. Like, they are my friends, I know them, because she crafted them so beautifully. And I mean, the thing with this one is I actually really hate the main male character in this series. And yet, I still am eating up every chapter that he's in because of how well she's written this story. So I think even if you've read The Mortal Instruments and you thought it was a bit shit, please continue on to The Dark Artifices, because it is so worth it. This book, I don't quite know how to categorize, because it's not YA, it's not adult. I guess it's kind of new adult. I guess it's new adult if that was like a proper actually acknowledged genre. And this one is going to come as no surprise to anybody that knows me. It's All for the Game by Nora Sakavic. I've talked about this series so much recently because I've been reading the books again. This is another series again that I read during lockdown in 2020, and I devoured these books, the original trilogy that were out, and I truly, from when I read them the first time, I have not stopped thinking about these characters. This story lives rent-free in my mind every second of the day. And while the original trilogy is phenomenal, in my opinion, it's kind of trash, but like, I think it's amazing. Her new books that she's coming out with in this series, the Sunshine Court books, are so good. Like, it's kind of like what I was saying with Cassandra Clare. Like, you can just see the growth in Nora's writing from these books to her current ones, and I love them. I love them so much. And again, like with the Raven Boys and with the Shadowhunters, the characters are what really, really sells this series to me. I genuinely think about these characters once a day, and that's not an exaggeration. I wish it was. I think about them all the time. I love them. I am so attached to them. I never know how to describe this series. This, I guess, is a boy, a traumatized boy who ends up on a university sports team and is trying to run away from his past. That's kind of the really vague synopsis. But I will not rest until all of my friends have read this series. Only one of my friends has read the first book. Ruth, shout out to you. None of my other friends have. I'm going to make it happen because I need more people. I need more people to scream about this one. Okay, and then actually this one doesn't really, I don't know where to put either, actually thinking about it. And it's Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This one is, I guess it's technically classed as middle grade, but like in my mind it's not middle grade, so like I never know where to categorize it. I read this book I think in like 2021, 2022 after having been a fan of the movie forever. Like, I love the movie so much. I have a tattoo of Howl from the movie on my leg. I'm gonna put a little photo up here. But I love the movie, and I'd heard that the book was quite different, so I was a little bit hesitant going into it. I didn't really know how I was going to feel about it, because obviously I'm very attached to the film. But the book is so good. Like, dare I say the book is better? I think the book is better. And that's, for me, that feels like blasphemy, because Howl's Moving Castle is probably my favourite film of all time. This book is so good. This has such a levity to it that I think the film doesn't quite have, because in the film they changed parts of it so that there's like this whole war part going on in the film. There's no war in this one. This is also a portal fantasy in this one. Howl is Welsh. It's so good. I really want to reread this one very soon. I listened to the audiobook as well originally, which if you haven't read this book and you're thinking about it, I would highly recommend the audiobook. I think the audiobook is the best way to read it. But I love this one. I haven't read the other two books in this kind of companion series yet. I've heard they're not as good, so I'm a little bit worried. Yeah, this one is everything. I'm getting really repetitive just saying like, I love this book is everything, but like, that's how I feel. That is just how I feel. Okay, let's do the romances now. I only have two kind of romance things that I'm grouping together, because while I am a big romance reader, it's kind of hard for me to have a romance series as a god tier book. I don't know why. It just doesn't really happen for me, but these are the exceptions. So first off, I have my two Casey McQuiston books. So I have Red, White and Royal Blue and One Last Stop. These are once again Peaches Obviously dust jackets that I have on. They're on the just original paperbacks. These books just, I don't know what it is about these books. I love them so much. I think with Red, White and Royal Blue, this was the first adult romance that I ever read. This came out in 2019. I read it in 2019. And yeah, it was the first adult romance I ever read. I previously had always been someone who said, I don't like romance. I'm not a fan of romance. I'm never going to read romance books. And then I heard a lot of people talking about this, and the premise of it, I was just like, that sounds like fan fiction that I've read. And I do believe this was actually based on fan fiction, but anyway, the plot compelled me to pick it up, and I really, really loved it. And yeah, if you don't know this one, this is, I think, one of the most well-known contemporary romance books. It is a romance between the Prince of England and the son of the President of the United States. After Red, White and Royal Blue, Casey McQuiston came out with One Last Stop. And this one, I think that I like this more than Red, White and Royal Blue. I need to do a reread to confirm my opinion, but I think I liked this one more. It's following two girls in New York, I believe. And one of them is, I don't know how to describe it. She's stuck on the subway, is kind of stuck from the past on this subway. And these two girls end up meeting on the subway. They fall in love. I think what I loved so much about this one was the side characters. While I liked them in Red, White and Royal Blue, the side characters in this were so amazing. Like, they felt like, again, they felt like my friends. Like, I felt like I knew these people. Casey McQuiston is easily one of my favorite romance authors. I haven't read their most recent book, The Pairing, yet, which I know that that one's been getting like quite a lot of bad reviews, but I'm really excited to read it. I have 2 copies of it on my shelf, so I probably should get to that quite soon. Okay, and then the next romance ones, listen, this to me is the prime example of 5 stars is a feeling. It is personal, it is on you. It doesn't mean they have to be the best books ever written. So I have God of Fury and God of Malice by Rina Kent. Listen. If you've watched my videos, I think I talk about Rina Kent in every single video that I have posted since I started my channel. She's my favourite dark romance author. I've really enjoyed everything that I've read from her so far, but these 2 are these are the best of the best that she's written, in my personal opinion. God of Malice, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I read this on a train to London last year. I was bored, I had my Kindle, and I was scrolling through. I was like, oh, I've got God of Malice downloaded. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I'm interested in it. I'll give it a go. The first 2 chapters of this book are wild, and I was sat on a crowded train reading this book, and I was obsessed with it. I don't know what that says about me. I was obsessed with it. I couldn't put it down. I read half of this book on the train, got home from London, and then binged the rest of it, and binged the rest of the series as well. Is this objectively a fantastic book? No, it's not. Do I love it with every fibre of my being? Yes, I do. And then God of Fury, my beloved. This is book 5 in the Legacy of Gods series. God of Malice is book 1. This one's book 5. This is an MM, and I've seen a lot of controversy around this book. I've seen a lot of people talking about how they don't like the representation in this and how they personally don't relate to it. And here's the thing, everyone's experience is valid. If you don't personally relate to the representation in this, then that is perfectly fine and valid. For me, I really resonated with the representation in this. I felt seen by Bran and some of his experiences, not all of his experiences, but some of them. And I personally loved it. This book made me cry. This made me feel so many things. And because of the way that it made me feel when I was reading it, it can't not be in my god tier books. Let's do my last non-fantasy before I get into all the fantasy and romantasy. I have Criminal Intentions by Cole McCade. The whole series, I've read, what, 13? 13 books in this series so far, and I've loved every single one of them. This is a series that I always describe as Criminal Minds but make it really, really queer. I'm not traditionally someone who likes like a cop book, a detective book, that kind of mystery book. This changed that entirely for me. I don't think this is like, I don't think I'm now going to be a fan of like cop detective books. This is the exception to the rule. This is following 2 characters who are 2 detectives at the Baltimore Police Department. They are partners working together to solve crimes. There is romance in this. There is a through line of a really interesting and twisty kind of mystery plot, while also each book having the kind of mystery of the week. We've got to catch the bad guy for each book kind of vibe. And I loved it. Hello. Do you want to come say hi? My cat's come to say hello. Hi, Yumi. Hi. You want to come talk about books with me? We're gonna have to pause for cat. Hello. Okay, I completely lost my train of thought because I got distracted by my cat. But yeah, this has a interesting kind of series structure. So this is structured more like a TV show. So this is season 1, episode 1, the first book. You have 13 books for the first season. And then you have season 2, episode 1, which is like the second arc of the series, which is really interesting, and I've never seen that done before, ever. I think the series is criminally underrated. And I think that if you are somebody who is interested in mystery, kind of thriller books, I think that you really, really should be reading this series. Now I'm going to do my 2 standalones. The first one is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is a book that I was so scared to read. This intimidated the shit out of me when it came out. And my bestie Ruth, this is one of her favourite books, and she is the person who pushed me to read this. And I love it so much. It is so different than what I normally read, and I think that's part of the reason why I ended up loving it so much. This one is so much more abstract. It feels like you're in a dream the whole time you're reading it. Like, it's like flowing from different parts of this world to other parts. You don't necessarily feel grounded in this world, but not in a bad way at all. It feels like you're just floating through this world and experiencing it in this just haze of dreamlike wonder. That's the only way I can describe it. I love it so much. I need to reread it because I haven't read this one for quite a while. This is such a unique book, and I fully understand why people don't like this book. I think this is quite a polarizing book. I know that Erin Morgenstern's other book, The Night Circus, is generally more well loved. I didn't personally like that one very much. That one I didn't love, but I completely understand why a lot of people don't like this. For me though, this was exactly what I wanted. And then the other one is, this is the other contender for maybe my favorite of all time alongside The Foxhole Court. Completely different vibes, could not be more different, but it is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is the little self-published version, which is tabbed to fuck, and it is also, it is also signed and personalized to me from when I met S.T. Gibson last year. This is a book that I truly think is one of the most beautiful, impactful, important books of all time. If you don't know what this book is about, it is a reimagining of Dracula's brides from the perspective of his first bride. It is a story about abuse, essentially. It is about how this woman and all of Dracula's brides ended up in this abusive situation, and how despite that and despite the pain that they endured at the hands of this horrible man, they still find love and hope within each other. And I just think this book is so beautiful. I think it is such, like, this book had such a deep impact on me. This is a book that that resonated so deeply within me, and I can never recommend this book enough. I think that this is a book that everyone should read. I think that everyone has the capacity to enjoy this book and can take something really important from it. I'm so happy that I got to meet S.T. Gibson because I got to say to her how much I love her books and how much they mean to me. So if you take one recommendation from this entire video, it is A Dowry of Blood. Fantasy. The first things I'm going to be going through, I think are kind of like the most basic bitch answer to God tier fantasy series, but I don't care. I stand by it. It's Brandon Sanderson, baby. These books, I don't want to hold this one actually. This one's too heavy for me to hold right now. These books I think are truly the best adult fantasy that I have ever read. There's something about the way that he writes that is so easy to read while still creating these complex and unique worlds. They're not intimidating to get into. You're not going to be lost and confused. He holds your hand to an extent, but not in a patronizing way, if that makes sense. So I have here the Mistborn series. This one, again, I have tabbed and annotated to filth. I read this originally, I believe, in 2021 or 2022, and I reread this first book last year. Still just as phenomenal, if not actually more phenomenal on reread. I think that this is definitely, if you're going to start with Brandon Sanderson, this is probably the best place to start, because this is a really easy world to dive into. It is complex while not being overwhelming, and the plot is like super engaging in this one. So this is where I would recommend starting. Where I would not recommend starting is Way of Kings. I haven't finished this series yet, I will say, so it does feel a little bit preemptive to put it on here because I haven't read all the books that are out. I still need to read books 4 and 5, but the first 3 books in this series, I have never been so gripped by a book this damn long. Like, these books are all over 1,000 pages, and when I first started reading this, I thought I was going to struggle. I thought this was going to feel like a slog to get through. I thought I was going to be so lost, so confused. No, I was in from the first chapter. There is something about the way that this man writes that just hooks me in every time. I think that this is probably the best epic fantasy series ever. This, I think, is just objectively fantastic. Like, even if it's not your thing, you can't deny the masterpiece that this series is. So I am very scared to continue on with this series, but I am very excited, and I think I might be picking up book 4 either next month in May, or if not in May, then in June. Okay, I've realised a lot of my adult fantasy here is white big hardbacks, but the next one I have is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is one of those series for me that is god tier, that is perfect. I have no complaints about it, but I genuinely don't know if I can reread this, because the emotional damage that this book imparted onto my soul is unparalleled. I've never felt it from any other book. I feel like I don't have words for how much this book messed me up. And this is another situation where I got to meet R.F. Kuang. There's another one that is signed and personalized to me. So I got to tell her to her face how much she fucked me up with this series. I remember actually when I met her, I had finished the 3rd book in this trilogy, maybe like 2 days before, and I was still reeling from the emotions that it gave me. This is very much a military fantasy. This is about this girl who ends up going to a military academy to train, ends up getting sucked into the war. And the reason that I think that this book is so phenomenal, and also why it is so devastating, is this does not shy away from the realities of war. I feel like a lot of times in fantasy books, you know, there's talk about like people dying and like, oh, all that kind of stuff. This is brutal. This does not pull punches on descriptions of the horrors of war. And while I do think that it is devastating to read, I think that it is important, but that is also why I don't know if I'll ever reread it, because I sobbed, like truly from my soul sobbed reading these books. They are so painful and heartbreaking, but also beautiful. So I do recommend this series. I think that in general everyone should read R.F. Kuang's books. I think they're fantastic. But just prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for this one. And my other white hardback adult fantasy is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This one I know is polarizing. I know that a lot of people don't like this series because they think Jay Kristoff's writing is pretentious and annoying, which it is, and I love it. This was a series that I went into not really knowing how I was going to feel about it, because all I'd really heard is it's about a girl who goes to an assassin school and the writing's really annoying. That's literally all I'd heard about it. So I didn't know, and I can fall one of two ways with very distinct writing styles. So yeah, I really wasn't sure. And I love this book. I ate this book up. This whole trilogy I think is fantastic. I think that it is such a unique world and the magic in it is really interesting. I love our main character. Again, I know that not everyone does. I really love her. I think she is such a baddie. And yeah, listen, I love the writing style. I love it. I love the footnotes. I think it's fun. I think it's really fun. This is one of the ones that I think is the most likely for other people to not enjoy, purely because of the writing. The synopsis of this one is basically we follow our main girl Mia, whose entire family has been murdered, and she ends up going to this assassin school, this elusive, mysterious assassin school, to learn skills to basically annihilate the people responsible for her family's murder. And it is so good. And then this one, I considered whether or not to put this on here, because I haven't given technically any of the books in this series 5 stars yet, but I also felt like it would be wrong not to put it in here. So it's Heaven Official's Blessing by Mojang Tongju. This is the deluxe special edition hardcover of the first volume. This is a Chinese danmei, a boys' love series, and to be honest, the only reason I think that these yet haven't got 5 stars is the translation, the writing of it, because it takes me a little bit to get into every time. This is one of those series that I have heard that the translation is one of the weakest of the danmei series. It is not the kind of easiest, smoothest to read, but the story in it I love. I am reading volume 5 right now, and I can already tell you it's gonna be a 5-star. This essentially follows a god who is kind of a joke of the heavens at this point. He is considered to be like really unlucky, and it's not that nobody likes him, but they kind of just ignore him and pretend he doesn't exist. And then the other main character is one of the Ghost Kings, and it is a romance between the two of them, but it's very much slow burn. Very, very slow burn. Going into this series expecting like smutty, fun, quick romance, no. This is slow burn romance with a lot of interesting plot and like politics of the heavens and like interpersonal relationships between gods and stuff. And yeah, even though a lot of this series has not been 5-star, they've all been 4.5s. And when I think about this series, it just feels like a god tier series to me. Like, it feels like one that I am always going to love and think fondly of. With the way that the volumes are going now, I'm 99% sure that all the rest are going to be 5 stars, so I'm kind of preemptively putting this one on here. Okay, we are finally on the last 3 books, which are the romantasy books. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Wolfsong by TJ Klune. This series, oh god, another series that just makes me so emotional. This is a queer werewolf found family small town type of vibe, and there are 4 books in this series. Each one follows a different member of this wolf pack, with a kind of continuous storyline going through. The first one follows Ox and Joe, and this book, I originally tried to read this book in 2020 in lockdown, thinking it was just going to be like a silly, fun, goofy werewolf book. And I got to, I think, probably about page maybe 150. And something happened. If you've read this book, you know what happened. I put it down. I DNF'd it because I was like, I can't deal with that right now. That's too much emotionally for me. So I put it down. And then I actually continued on with it. I reread it in 2023, I think. I buddy read this with Bestie Ruth. And oh, this book is so good. Listen, I am a sucker for werewolves in general. I love a werewolf book. I love a werewolf pack. So this was kind of set up for success in a way, but like the way that these characters love each other and support each other and fight for each other, it just, I genuinely could cry right now thinking about it. I've loved every book in this series. I need to read book 4, but I'm really scared. I'm terrified to read it. So yeah, if you want beautiful, wholesome found family with also really heartbreaking content, Green Creek by TJ Klune. An ultimate book. This one I've spoken about a lot. It's Beast of the Briar by Elizabeth Helen. I decided to whack out my paperback for this one, which maybe is a mistake because the glare is going crazy. But yeah, I've spoken about this one a lot. This is polyamorous Beauty and the Beast retelling with Faye, and I just read book 4 maybe like a week or so ago, and that book, I genuinely don't know how I am supposed to survive until book 5 comes out with the way that book ended. I put it down, and just for context, in this office where I'm filming this right now, my desk is here, my boyfriend's is right next to me. I stood up from my desk, went and stood over his desk, leaned into him, and just kind of screamed at him, because I was so unwell. I love this series. This is definitely a series that is very smutty. It is very focused on the romance, but I think that the fantasy plot in this is also really, really interesting. I love the romances in this book. I am invested in all of the romantic entanglements going on, but the plot has me so hooked. Like, I would say that the plot really kicks off in book 2. I'm so intrigued by it. Like, this book to me is the perfect mix of everything I want in a romantasy, because it has, in my opinion, really compelling, fun, spicy romances, and also a really good balance of epic, really, really cool, high stakes plot. So I screamed about this one enough. If you haven't picked it up already, then you know what I'm gonna say. But yeah, Beast of the Briar. And then my final one is another one that I'm gonna say hear me out on, because I know that this is not, I know that this series is not like fantastic. I know that this series is kind of shit. But it's Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This is the kind of book that just feeds into my fanfiction loving kind of teenage self. This book, I always say, is written like fanfiction. It reads like fanfiction. It has the tropes, it has the vibes. I really like it. Again, do I understand why other people don't like this series? 100%. I will never be mad at someone for saying that this book is terribly written. I get it. I love it. I love it so much. This first book is not a 5-star. I think they gave this one 3-star. But every book past, I think book 3, I have either given a 4.5 or a 5-star. I don't know. This one, if you don't know what Zodiac Academy is, it is following 2 twin sisters who are living in the mortal world. And then one day this man comes to their door and says, hey, you're actually Fae princesses. You have to come to the Fae realm to train. Come with me, basically. And they end up at this school learning about their magic. They're dealing with 4 very mean boys who resent their entire existence and, you know, want to make their lives living hell. And I really love it. Yeah, I ate these books up. Some of the later books in the series are over 1,000 pages. I ate them up in like a week. It took me like a month to read A Way of Kings book. Zodiac Academy? 7 days. 7 days or less. I devoured these books. While I acknowledge not for everyone, 100%, 1000% these are for me. But yes, those are all of my 18 God tier books and series. I hope maybe you got some good recommendations from this video. If you have read any of these series and you also love them, then please feel free to let me know. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe if you feel like it. And hopefully I will see you in a new video again soon. Bye!